shaking the food at least remains kosher. Food, the pots remain kosher. But it's only when can you eat it. Now, in Halacha, when it can be eaten. Normally, after Shabbos is over, if it's within a one of the Easter, and even on Shabbos too, if it's needed. But if it's within Easter, even Easter was the Easter, Shegeg can be eaten on Shabbos also if you have no other food. This is Halacha nice. Zecher to Umaid, Ameid, Nishma, Lazis, the Kayim, keep the Kedusha of Shabbos that is tight. Kedusha of Shabbos should bring us to the Yom Shkulei Shabbos, the Yerushalmi Eidach. Shulchan Shabbos, Didei Bevashel, dealing with cooking on Shabbos. Well, it says that if a person is sick, you are allowed to be Mechal Shabbos for him. So, what happens if you have no meat? The Chaylev requires meat. You're allowed to shecht, take the life of an animal, killing, which is one of the abulachis, because for the sake of the sick person. Now, once you've shechted that meat for the sake of the sick person, which was permissible, is a healthy person allowed to eat from that meat? After all, for a healthy person, that meat was allegedly muktzah. It was a live animal till now. The malacha was done. Can a healthy person eat from it? The answer is yes. Because nothing was done for the sake of the healthy person. Nothing could be done for the sake of a healthy person on Shabbos. It was done only for the sake of the sick person. You cannot shecht less than a whole animal. There's no way you can shecht part of the animal, one piece of the animal. You shecht an animal, that's the whole thing was done for the sake of the sick person, nothing else. Therefore, a healthy person can't eat from that animal. Of course, Teshuva asks, how can a healthy person eat from that meat? The meat has blood in it. How do you eat without salting meat? The answer is that we wash off the meat on the surface, we wash off the blood from the surface of the meat, and the dam, the blood that's inside the meat, it's mutter, it is permissible to eat. That's not considered Easter blood. Blood is also high of chorus, only the blood comes out. When the meat expels the blood, then that blood is also. But while the blood is still inside the meat, that's kosher blood. So why can't you cook meat regularly without salting it? Because when you cook a piece of meat, the blood comes out, the meat expels the blood through the heat of the cooking, and then it absorbs it back in again, so the meat becomes treif with blood that became usr. Once blood leaves the meat, it becomes blood, down, isa. The blood itself is usr. When it goes back inside, it makes the meat treif. Therefore, we have the din a sick person for whom the meat was shechted, and a healthy person can eat that meat on Shabbos without cooking it. It means if he has the stomach for eating raw meat, then he's allowed. In case though, the chayla was sick and it required cooking meat for him, he needed meat to be cooked, then that meat that was cooked is unkosher for a healthy person until after Shabbos is over. This is because of the Gezerah Shemeyarbet B'Shviloi, we will allow a healthy person to eat from this meat. A healthy person will make a trick. And instead of putting a small piece of meat in the pot, we'll put a big piece of meat that'll go for you and I, will say. Let's both share. We'll both eat together. You have two mates. One will cook for the other, permissibly, and then they'll both eat together. So we're afraid he might deliberately add a piece of meat for the sake of the healthy person. Because in Agzeda we say, any meat that's cooked on Shabbos, even for the sake of a healthy person, where it was permissible, for the sake of a sick person was permissible, a healthy person cannot eat from that meat. In addition, even if a goy was told to cook that meat, two things. The goy was told to cook the meat, it is still kosher. Though a goy cooked it for the sake of a sick person, still kosher even after Shabbos is over, and also the pots do not become treif. That's the finish. The pot in which this item was cooked did not become treif, simply because there was no Easter at all done in this act. Pots remain kosher, the food remains treif. The food remains kosher after Shabbos is over, not during Shabbos, because of the Gezerah that he might add to it. This was Shabbos b'chof ratem v'tikah. thereby Syrian Jewish Shabbos, but yes, Moshe Feinstein. Shabbos in Mevashel. Cooking, Isha cooking of Shabbos. Again, the three stages are cleaning shoin. This is the first keli, which means the one that's on the fire. Eating cleaning shoin, pouring from that keli onto any type of food. Third is klisheni, when the pot, the food is placed into a plate. That's called a second keli, klisheni. The din is that the first klishon is mevashel, it's been the ice and atayna, it's 100% mevashel. Eating klishon also is mevashel, but partially, like klipa. It doesn't go through with it, it still cooks part of it, which means that it's still mevashel. And klisheni, the din is that it is mevashel, but to a degree, a smaller degree. To a less degree, a person could circumvent the problem of mevashel and the klisheni. For example, especially, we have a difference between lach and yavesh, food that is liquid or wet, or that which is dry. If a food is liquid, soup, tea, water that was cooked, and then completely cooked, ready to drink, or soup is ready to eat, then later this soup, this liquid cooled off, and it is considered raw. It is considered uncooked. Anything liquid, when it cools off, must be cooked again. You have to cook it again once it became cool. So if you take, even though the liquid was cooked, but it's now cold, and pour anything onto it, so the first reclination is considered cooking because this thing is raw again. However, if the item is dry, say a dry piece of meat that was cooked, and then it was taken out of the soup, out of the liquid was removed from it, and then it became cold, ice cold, this thing cannot be cooked again. So it has a much lighter isa. Which means in this case, once it is already cooked, then you can put it into a klisheni, that's for sure. There's no question about it being mevashel. And even eating klisheni also is not considered cooking, because the item is considered already cooked. But to put it back on the fire itself, that definitely we do not allow. There are some who go that far too. They say if it's dry, it's cooked already, you cannot recook it, so putting it back on the fire is admissible. Very few who do that, but of course it is best to beware not to follow it. Now, very briefly, in tea, making tea or coffee, if the tea or coffee is raw, uncooked leaves, uncooked grains, then you cannot place a teaspoonful of this tea or coffee into a glass and pour from the kettle. Pouring from the kettle means eating klisheni. That is surely mevashel, something which is raw. Not only that, but even if you pour the water into a glass and then put the tea leaves or the coffee into the glass, the klisheni is also mevashel. What then? If you can get the coffee or tea cooked before Shabbos, it's already cooked. Something is already cooked, that cannot be cooked again. Then it is permissible to place it into a glass, a klisheni, place it into the klisheni, but still not to use it as an eating klisheni. In other words, if you have it already cooked, though we said that yavesh is permitted to pour from the klisheni or yavesh, in this case, the coffee or tea is a shayla whether it's actually yavesh or not. Unless it's real leaves, it's very difficult putting us, especially there in most cases it's in powder form. So that it is best, at least as the Mishnah says, the Indian klisheni, though it's cooked, is not advisable, or legally, technically it's admissible. Best thing is, the real best way to make tea or coffee, to drink tea or coffee on Shabbos, final word is to take from the kettle, pour the water into a glass, and then take from the leaves, the tea leaves, or the coffee that was already boiled, percolate it, and pour that into the glass too, the second klisheni, either whether it's liquid coffee or whether it's grain or instant tea and so on. Those are all considered cooked already. Put that into the glass of the klisheni, and then it's permissible on Shabbos. Same thing holds true with sugar. Sugar is considered remushal, cooked already. It's been purified through a cooking process, so it was cooked. Therefore, you're allowed to put sugar, regulated sugar, soft sugar, into a glass of tea. It's the cliche, but not to put sugar in a glass and then pour from the kettle into that glass. That is awesome. This is the correct way to make tea or coffee. To drink the seva, Yerushalmi is bowl, the Sudas Shabbos Kodesh, which we serve to the Sudas R Nosson, the Torah, the coming of Mashiach later. Okay, Shabbos. Preparing food for Shabbos. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to cook because cooking makes the food edible. Same thing too, a food which is not edible because of it being too spicy or too sour, requires soaking in water in order to remove the sharpness and tanginess, where it could become edible. And then, if it is a food that is completely inedible without soaking, it's forbidden to soak that in water. However, if it's possible to eat it with difficulty, for example, you get a strong schmaltz and it's fresh, so strong that usually they soak it in water for a while because it's like Mexican tequila if you eat it raw. Yet there are some who enjoy it. The stronger the better. So since it is possible to be eaten, then to eat before soaking it, and it's admissible to soak it for the sake of those who'd rather have their drinks schmaltz a little bit quieter, more passive. So, in other words, the key then is if it's edible or not. Edible without soaking, you may soak it. Not that you're not. Any fruit, all fruit of course is kosher. In fact, even the fruit that is planted unkosher, kilayim, you're not allowed to graft this kilayim in fruit, just like you cannot use real linen garments, you cannot graft one branch to another tree. Like a combination of two types of fruits, tangerine or nectarines, those combinations of two fruits are forbidden. It's a complete Easter Midnight, the same as eating chazan. The difference is that the one who plants it is the one who is committing the sin. Once it is grown, and all fruits are kosher. You may even eat that which is a combination. Now, the fruit that is grown, if it is complete, if it is already removed from the tree before Shabbos, then it's mutter. If it was on the tree as Shabbos began, then that became muktzah. So that if it fell from the tree on Shabbos, there is no way that this fruit can become muktzah. Because as long as Shabbos began, it was muktzah, it was asur, it is asur to be eaten on Shabbos. Just the same as a chicken laying an egg. An egg that comes out on Shabbos is asur. That which is leilad on Shabbos, or a fruit which is also the process of is changed from part of the tree to an item which is the food item. It is asur if it fell off on Shabbos. Same with everything too that was muktzah when Shabbos began. Very important point, and we know that you're not allowed to use it during Shabbos. And therefore, for this reason, we have a special din people are supposed to know about. The wives are supposed to know about women. When they bench shlich, they light the candles on Friday night, then you must make sure that the chalas are on the table at the time of lichtbench. It's a very vital din, and this din applies to the men. Just as we said, the candles lit by a woman must be prepared by the men. The man is supposed to prepare the candles, he's supposed to light it before and extinguish it. So the wick will become receptive to the fire. Take a raw wick, dry wick, that hasn't been lit yet. At the time of the bracha, one makes the bracha on it. So she tries to light it, it could be so long it has to that the bracha might be the Torah. Even though it's part of the act, but it's much better if the husband first lights the candles, puts them into the menorah, sets them up, lights them, extinguishes it, because once it is lit, then it's easy for the fire to take hold when she lights it. It's his job too to see to it the chalas are on the table. Because if the chalas are not on the table becomes a buses and davar ha'asr, which means that the whole table becomes muktzah. It's carrying candles which are muktzah. You cannot move that table. This way, if you have chalas on the table before, then the chalas are supersede. They are more important than the fire of the candles. And because there is muktzah and non-muktzah there, we're allowed to move the muktzah because of the table itself. No buses for a davar hamutah carries a chalas for a mutah. So actually it's the chalas or anything else of value, but usually in Friday there's very little of value besides that. When you light candles, there's nothing on the table except the and the seed of the chalas are placed there. Now this must be done before the Shabbos begins. In other words, the moment that Shabbos begins, if there are chalas on the table is not muktzah. If at that time there are no chalas, the table is muktzah. Put the chalas there when the candles are lit, for example, and then remove the chalas immediately afterwards, and when a few minutes later Shabbos begins, actually it's sundown, there's no chalas on the table, you're placing the table at the time the candle lighting isn't doing good. Chalas must be there during the time of Shkia when the actual Shabbos begins. This is in order to make certain that the Shabbos began without this item being muktzah, because once an item is muktzah at the beginning of Shabbos, then it remains muktzah for the entire rest of Shabbos. That's why again the fruit that becomes ripe, falls, moved on Shabbos is awesome. So too, if it doesn't have it falls by itself, or if a goy brought fruit, fresh fruit, we don't know whether the fruit was taken off a tree on Shabbos or otherwise. If this is a place where there are trees close by, then because of suffix, not the question of not being allowed to eat them, but not allowed to be talpul them. It's muktzah, you cannot move them at all. You can't handle these items. Because of the Yisur muktzah, which is zeichet to Kedusha, Kaddish and souls, for succeeding to the Yerushalmi. Shabbos, those items we stated that are too strong, too tangy, too sharp to eat without correcting them, cannot be done so on Shabbos. Mustard and horseradish, other types of items that are not actually food, if you dip into them, use them as an addition to food, they generally are neutralized a little by putting vinegar into it. This vinegar must be put into it by day, but not on Shabbos, because that too is like making it fit to eat. However, it's not that much of a malacha, and therefore, if a person forgot to put vinegar in before Shabbos, he can put it in on Shabbos, but with a shidud. The many items that you're allowed to do on Shabbos, with a shidud, meaning doing it in a different form, so we can recognize that it's not done in a regular weekday manner. In this case, the shidud is that you should first pour the vinegar into a dish, then put the horseradish into the vinegar, rather than the other way around. Generally, the horseradish goes first, and you pour vinegar in the horseradish. Here, with this shidud, with this different motion, this different action, it's permitted to do this on the Shabbos itself. This is important, of course. You have this on the night of Pesach. You have to make the charesis. So too, when you mix this, you have to see to it that it should not come out too thick, because that's like the act of making cement. You should pour enough vinegar to keep it a little lighter, a little more liquidy, and also, again, to a second, another sheet in this series, you cannot mix this with a spoon, only with a finger, which should first be washed, or to shake it in the keli itself so that it becomes mixed up well. You don't use a spoon because that would be the ugda d'chol. Ugda d'chol means something which is done, a halacha which is done during the week. There are certain items that are not considered halacha on Shabbos. You're not committing any act at all. None of the 39 acts, none of the termites, the derivatives of those acts, nothing is being broken. Yet you're doing something which is not fit for the Shabbos. It's fit for weekdays. In fact, it's work that's done on the weekdays, though it's not usher on Shabbos, but it's not respectful for Shabbos, and therefore it is usher. Out of respect for Shabbos. Therefore we have a din that if a sack of fruit broke, so the fruit scattered over an area in the house, even in a house where you're allowed to carry, or in a private yard. And then there's a question of whether you're allowed to gather up these fruit. Because if you go on picking up these fruit, that's an uvda dechel. That's the weekdays. That's work, labor. So if it's scattered over a wide area, then it's forbidden to pick up the fruit on Shabbos, to gather it. You got to leave it there. If it's close, a very close area, it fell in one spot, then you're allowed to pick up the fruit, put it back into a bag or a basket. If it's scattered in a wide area, you can pick up one at a time, eat it, and that's all. Only that which you eat immediately. So that if you have a large family, you can polish off all these fruit. If not, it's got to stay there until after Shabbos is over. And if it fell into dirt, pebbles, then it's still worse. And then it's a question already of treated an actual malacha of selecting, picking out one from the other, which we'll have later on. Discuss this malacha later. But if it fell into pebbles, little stones, and then you would think that you want to save the fruit covered from potatoes, food, yet since it is a work on Shabbos, this supersedes the question of covered the food. So that it is something, this is an item which people are unaware of, and actually need Mechal Shabbos without knowing it. Breaking a law, that's just as bad as committing murder unintentionally, or without the knowledge that it's forbidden. There's a case where there's an actual din, Isur on Shabbos, to collect fruit that has fallen, because it is an uvda dechel, and worse, if it has fallen in dirt, then it becomes an actual halacha, and you're not allowed to pick it up at all. This is the beginning of the Hilchos Beda, which will continue later. To be truly Beda, select the true action that we should, serving Hashem, select that which is true life, and that's of course we should see with the head of it. Hilchos Shabbos, Dinei Beda. All the posek, especially the chavruta, write very strongly, very sharply about the fact that Hilchos Shabbos is so vital, so important, that the Shabbos is above all mitzvahs. Shabbos is the place, the symbol of emunah. Mechal Shabbos is considered a kaifer, regardless of what mitzvahs he obeys. And the Shabbos is the outstanding mitzvah. It is the most serious mitzvah. It is the most serious penalty for breaking, a death penalty for breaking any one of the halachos of Shabbos. Not only a death penalty, but the severest one. The 4 penalties given by Bezdin by the court, skila, sreifa, henig, v'chenig. Shabbos is skila. Tikuney Zohar says that all these stand for the 4 letters of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shabbos is the letter Yud, the first letter. Shabbos is above all. So, therefore, we see that worse than any other crime is Chilul Shabbos. Breaking not the whole Shabbos, not every minute is Shabbos, but 1 second. The person does a malacha for 1 second, keeps the entire 24 hours, 25 hours of Shabbos. And in 1 second only, he does one single malacha. At that second, he has committed a crime for which he gets the death penalty, which he has excluded himself from the Kogus of Chas v'Shalom. Therefore, the place can say, mention how important it is for a person to learn, to study well, and to know the din of Shabbos. Because there are people who are not completely versed, not well versed in the laws of Shabbos, and they could be well-meaning and think they're spending a day keeping the Shabbos, observing the Shabbos, obeying it completely. Actually, every other step they make is an actual chilul Shabbos, which, if they had a hasra, if they were warned, they'd be committing death penalties by the hundreds. For example, the case of Beda. Here's a case, let's say that people who don't know or are not aware of it, go to shul on Shabbos, they sit down to a Shabbos meal to enjoy the meal, knowing very little about the fact that while they're sitting at the meal, eating their favorite dish, and are committing acts that are tantamount to worse than murder. They are being mechal Shabbos at every step. For example, the din of Beda is that if you have in front of you food, plus the waste matter of food, parts that, for instance, the shells, the rind. You have lying before you these two types of food plus the spoilage, or the part that is worthless. If you want to select, underneath to select, you want to have this plate to eat. In order to make it easier for you, pick out one piece of shell from the plate and toss it aside. A very simple matter. It's convenient to eat without that piece of shell in the plate. By doing that, it's no less an act than having pulled a trigger on a person, another jerk. In fact, worse. This is breaking the Shabbos directly. Breaking the nature of the Lacha of the Shabbos Kodesh. Now, the benefit is, this is why a person should spend time in learning Hilchos Shabbos very carefully to see that he does not commit any acts that are serious. But it means that a person has in front of him Eichel, that's food, Silas, it's waste, that which is not fit to eat. He wants to select, pick out and separate these two. Separate, so he is not supposed to separate by picking out the Silas, the waste. He must take the food, the Eichel. He must pick out the Eichel. He picks out the waste, Silas, it is filled with Shabbos. That's one thing. There are three major rules in Beit. One, never supposed to select the food with a keli, with a spoon or a ladle. You must do it with your hand. If there is a mixture of food and silas, you cannot use a utensil. It must be a hand alone. When you have a plate that is pure food, fine. Then you eat like a person, like a civilized adult human being. You eat with a spoon, a fork. You hold it according to the way society dictates. You sit nicely at the table. Conduct yourself properly. But if there's a question of selecting, you cannot use the utensil in order to select. Third, if this is on the work table in the kitchen, and there is a question of selecting the food from the parts that are not to be eaten, now this is to be done only. You can only select that which you're going to eat immediately. You cannot, on Friday night, pick out enough food for the night meal plus the next morning's meal. That which is to be eaten later cannot be picked out now. So it's later, selecting, choosing, separating, is permissible only on these three conditions. One, above all, the food should be taken, the Eichel should be taken from the Psilas. Two, the Eichel should be taken biyad, with the hand. And three, only biyad, that means immediately, for the immediate meal, that may be selected, and not that which is later. These are the three basic rules of Beit. Further rules, reference to items where the question of Beit be able to be. You have, for example, nuts with shells, oranges that can be peeled. Those are serious questions. We'll take those up later on. And also the fact that Beit is a din that exists not just for food alone. But anytime you're going to pick out one from a group of other items that is also Beit, even if it's clothes, you're going to select a shirt to wear for Shabbos and so on, discuss those din in the future. We should be zecher to be shemin Shabbos and Tachlis, to learn, to be mekayim, fluent with this from us and mekayim. As the din says, Shabbos, 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 Tumley. It's Shabbos is to learn the Hilchos Shabbos, to be well versed in them, to be lucky in them, and shemin Shabbos l'Tachlis. Okay, Shabbos, Dinei Beit. Dinner, selecting the Shabbos, we said, is one of the Avalachos. Any person who picks out, who selects Silas, to give the Eichel, the food you eat. Silas is the part that is thrown out. The part that is not eaten. Select the good from the bad is permissible on conditions that one, you select it for immediate use, not for the next meal, but for the present meal. Please, do not use a special keli to if you use a fork is no different than a person's fingers. It's not considered a keli. You have to use your hands or a fork, but not a special keli that's used for selecting. That's only if you pick out the food rather than like what that is being discarded. This holds true. Also, there's two articles of food. Two perfect articles of food. If you have on a plate chicken and meat, you intend to eat only meat for this meal, you reject the chicken now has the din of service. This garlic item is not permitted, it's considered of service. So if you pick up the pieces of chicken and put them on the side, it's 100% clear. What you have to do is select that which you want to eat, pick out from among these pieces of meat, as they meet, leave the chicken automatically remaining on the plate. The cleaner refers to food, two articles of food also. The part you want to eat is echel, or you don't want to eat is psetis. The same thing holds true with two types of food, different vegetables and meat and so on. The only time it doesn't hold true is we have meat, large pieces and small pieces, then it doesn't matter. Exactly the same kind of food. The size doesn't make any difference. You want to pick out the large pieces, you can't move all the small pieces inside. Otherwise, these two types of food, in fact, even the same meat, one cooked and one boiled, also considered echel or psetis. This din holds true also, not just food. Anything at all. You want to pick out clothing, an article of clothing, you want to select a suit among your large wardrobe of many suits, or a shirt, or any article of clothes, you're supposed to pick the one you're going to wear, because the ones that you are going to leave over, that's considered the psetis, the rejects. You have to select, you're not supposed to take the ones you don't want, move them to a side, and leave over the ones you want. That's considered taking psetis and this. You have to pick the ones you want and leave over the rest. One halacha that the Mishnah Brura blesses us with. It's a boon and a blessing and a saving to mankind. The Jew wants to live without having to, without stopping each time he's got to go through the act of eating or taking anything. The Shulchan says, and this is halacha l'maisa, that if you have, for example, food on a plate, or you have clothing in a drawer. You have shirts in a drawer. You've got the third shirt on the top is the one you want to wear. You're going to take the first shirt off. The second shirt off, you're taking psetis. You're moving, picking a thing which you don't want, it's psetis. You get to the third. So you have to pull out the third one from the middle, or from the third to the bottom, with everything else flying, and have your wife go wild afterwards. The Shulchan says that whether it's clothes, whether it's food, for example, you have food on a plate, you have vegetables, you have, let's say, leaflets, you have celery, or you have spinach. Spinach covering the steak. You don't care for spinach know-how, you don't care to become strong like eating spinach. Rather have the meat alone. In this case, it's not that you are selecting the psetis. This psetis is the energy. These are your way. The article of clothes that are in the way of you getting to your own clothing, you're not going to say psetis you're selecting. You're really pushing them or shoving them aside, out of my way, because I'm getting to what I want. It's not a matter of selection at all. It's simply removing an obstacle which is not Pereira. In this case, that which really says that it's permissible, very important halacha, permissible to remove the unwanted item, to be able to get to the wanted item, not as a bit of better one that is permissible even on Shabbos Kodesh. This is a mighty deal which comes in handy many times because you go into a closet is dark, and you've got to move aside the suit of the coat you want. The closet is full wardrobe. Of course, full wardrobe of clothing. It's like there were so many. This happens mainly to women. They have nothing to wear but the body to jam. You can't see the clothes because of the block of solid material, one solid block. So, in this case, women, of course, are just as responsible for these halachas as are men. There's no difference. Just like we read yesterday, where it says, these are the women which you should place man before them, teach us that women are as much responsible for these things as men. There's no difference between the two. In this case, women's live with one out. They are held responsible for these women directly the same as men. When it comes to a negative din, not testify to Shabbos in any manner by, in this case, by the name of the Isa later. They must be careful when they put its clothes. A food case, of course, they're alike. Clothes, they're more. They have more problems than men. They should be very careful not to select. Like it says, by mind, take the clean out what you want, and then you're on top of it, throw it away, move it aside, not selecting moving it aside, not to cover it and block it. Prevent you from getting to the article you want. In this case, then it is permissible. These are some of the minimum there. Of course, we come to cases where there is food itself, an article of food which has sales, an article of food which has a shell or a rind. You've got to get to it. Orange peels. You remove an orange peel from an orange. You are taking it out of sales. Taking the service first. You break open a nut. You take off the shells, taking the shells, removing the shells, and it's clear. It's clear, but no question about that. That case was made. Taking the service off, and leaving over the alcohol. In this case, again, it said the Halacha. In this case, it is impossible to get to the alcohol without removing the shell, and therefore it is permissible in that case to do so. It's a very amazing finish, and a very useful one actually, so that you're allowed to remove the shells out. That's the one which is where it's impossible to eat it without that. That's in the case of nuts or orange peels. In the case of apples, the person wants to peel an apple, remove peels of an apple which is edible. There, if possible, it's better for a person to take a bite of the shell, even though it at least take a small bite of the removal of the shell, at least for some purpose. That's tasty. Take at least a lick of it, something to use that becomes alcohol rather than service. If not, it's also kosher. There's also a big tradition of apples. Shulchan and the Shana. Teshuva says that it's permissible to remove the apple peels, but that too is considered the rind of the apple the person was to eat. In the case of those nuts where there is an inside shell, the outside shell, the hard shell is removed. They be removed. But the inside, the very fine filament, the inside, that cannot be broken on Shabbos. It cannot be removed on Shabbos. That is edible, and therefore there are many posek who say, a very large number will say that a person, in order to avoid this problem, very simply should avoid eating nuts, walnuts, such as nuts on Shabbos. Avoid eating because those nuts have two shells, peanuts. Business has two shells, the outer rim, got a heavy shell and a thin shell. These nuts should be avoided on Shabbos Kodesh. Because you run into a problem, Menachem, because you could remove the outer shell, eat the inner one. If you don't like the inner one, you're running into a problem. The best thing is that on Shabbos, get a little bit out of it, or, do better, and nowadays they sell nuts already shelled. Shelled nuts that are completely all the outer shell removed, or prepare it yourself on Friday. You can have these nuts eaten on Shabbos without a problem. In this case, though, a person should either prepare before Shabbos, avoid eating it on Shabbos because it gets so good. We should be zecher to be clear, be lucid, clear head, pure heart, pure witness of Shabbos Mishlemus, with the name of Hashem, and see how very big Moshe Amen. Shabbos, D-Day, Friday. This morning we had posek for Hashem. Very good to have coupled with posek an important share like this morning. The din of Friday are very complex, very much unknown. There are people, the din says, have become trapped in this halacha of Menachem. That's why it's most vital for a person to learn Hilchos Shabbos carefully. He did so to be saved from being over these din. This is a halacha d'oraisa. Now, the din of of course, we had spoken already. We said that the ikar is to be better to select the eichel from the pselos. That which he is going to eat immediately, second rule, and third, not with a special keli, with his hand, which means the hand can be the spoon or the fork too. That's equivalent to the hand. A person is eating a piece of chicken, meat, a chicken bone with meat on it. If he pulls the bones out of the chicken and leaves the meat there, that's beta. He's taking the pselos. The bones is the pselos. That's awesome. Or if he has, worse still, if he has fish, regular fish, which is filled with bones, he pulls the bones out of the fish, puts them to his side, that is the isur of beta. He has to hold the whole piece in his hand and eat from that piece, select just the pieces of fish, or hold the bone of the chicken and eat from the bone the meat of that bone. When he's finished, he puts that bone aside, puts it into a different plate, or puts it aside. Eventually he's allowed to throw it out, although of course it becomes muktzah. But to throw it out is permissible. Now, it is certainly to the advantage of many people who choose to eat gefilte fish on Shabbos, because they thereby avoid all these problems. Gefilte fish doesn't have bones to pick from. You have the regular fish, non-gefilte, which is filled with these bones, and which of course are very dangerous. If you get a bone stuck, chas v'shalom, it's very dangerous. You have to be careful to get rid of the bones. So it's very difficult, if at all possible, to really eat that kind of fish on Shabbos al pi halacha. And therefore, the minig yourself eating gefilte fish on Shabbos is a wonderful minig, because you thereby avoid all the shalos of breathing. Now, as far as the bones themselves, you go back to chicken or meat. You're not allowed to take if you have bones left in your plate that were used up, you're not allowed to take those bones out to put them into a separate plate. That, of course, again is good. If you have meat, bones on your plate, you want to get rid of the bones to clear the plate, that is definitely awesome. It's only while eating it that you finish the meat off the bone that you're allowed to remove the bone, put the bone elsewhere. But once you're finished, you put the bone down, and there is still meat in that plate. You're going to pick up that bone and put it into a different plate and throw it out. That is better. So that he should hold the bones, as we said, and eat off the bone. And then, while it's still in his hand, he's allowed to move it into any place he wants, into a separate plate, into your wife's plate. But of course, if you want to move a bone, this I see from tzadikim, you want to move a bone, you want to make sure that you're safe with it. The bone is used up already. You simply take the bone and get something off it, either bite on it. Some people eat the inside marrow of bones, or lick off the rest of the meat that's on it, then you can move the bone to a different plate. Make sure that you're using that. Now, there are some people, too, who are so much medactic in throwing out these bones, because it's a Shabbat Muktzah, that I mentioned once I'd seen one of the Nashim Tikuney, when she had a clear table, would take every bone from the table, lick it, and put it into the wastebasket. There was no question of either Muktzah or possibly any case of murder, because there might be some meat left over which you'd still want to save, put back in the refrigerator. This way, it removed all possible problems. And this, of course, is a wonderful eitzah. Now, when you have chicken, you don't care for the skin of the chicken. It's the same as a fruit. You are allowed to remove the skin of the chicken because it is edible. And to you, this is better echel mitach echel. Same echel, same as having two apples and picking one. You remove the skin of the chicken and you eat the chicken, that's permissible. You remove the skin of the apple and eat the apple, that is permissible. Also, you're allowed to take a melon, a cantaloupe, open it in half, turn it over, and push out the pits from the inside. The reason is that this is not butter. You're not selecting the pselis there. You're removing the barrier to the meat of the melon. The pits and the rest of the inside, the center is in the way. You're removing it. And you can get to the meat of the melon. Above all, the Chaylim says that in any case, as long as your hand remains a melon, so you are better even though you're working on the pselis, you're removing the pits and all the other stuff from it. But as long as in your hand remains that melon, that means that you have been better the echel from the pselis. It's very important halacha to know. And therefore, too, this same thing holds true with coats. We said to pick out a coat, a garment, a suit, a shirt. You got to be careful to pick out only that one which is being selected for your immediate wear. Now, if the Shulchan says that if, let's say, there are a lot of coats piled up, and yours is near the bottom, you may remove the top ones. It's not considered greater pselis because it's a barrier to your coat. However, even to pick out echel from pselis is only allowed for that immediate moment, immediate use. So if Friday night you intend to change your shirt Shabbos morning, you're not allowed to pick out a shirt from your closet and put it aside on your dresser for Shabbos morning's use, because that's better for use later. You cannot pick out clothes for the next day, Friday night for Shabbos. That's better, not for the altar, not for the use, but for ladies, which is also, or for the sake of the children. You have children who pick out their clothes to go tomorrow morning. You cannot do that on Friday night. By the same token, you cannot even take a sefer out of a bookcase and put it on the desk for use later, because that's better for use later. So you have to wait until you're ready to actually use it. However, the din says, in that case, it's a very simple solution. The sefer you want to use later, you open it up and read a couple of words. If you use it immediately, you then put it down. Well, let's say if it's a coat, you can do it also. A shirt is difficult to do. But if you use it immediately, then you're allowed to select it. These are ingenious methods and very important to know. However, it's more important to know these halachas to avoid any kind of entrapment in the Isa Breda. Baruch Hashem, we have these kulos, the chavruta that supplied us to sell. There are these halachas come from to sell. Those who have worked and done research on these halachas and Breda, we should be zeichet to be emes Breda, to select pick out that which is good, the Tayyib Tayyah, the Edi Hashem, the Emes, the Zecher to the Yud Shekuli Shabbos, and the Eskel Tzedik later on. Kuli Shabbos, did he buy it? It is that you're not allowed to select with a keli. And therefore, eventually you cannot use a sieve. The sieve is a keli that separates two items. One, the one you want to eat is the echel. The one that you reject is the pselis. You cannot use a sieve. However, in case of wanting to purify water, it is permissible to use a sieve or rag, which is wrapped around the cloth, around the faucet, places where the water is not pure. This acts as a means of purifying the water. This is not considered beder. Of course, this must be the kind of a rag that you don't need. Otherwise, there is an issue of allowing water to go through cloth. The issue of kibbutz is washing clothes on Shabbos. You must be careful with that. And it says that you could use the kerchief, for example. If the water is not clean, use the kerchief and drink the water through that kerchief. If again it's one which is not particular about washing, he's going to discard it. That's why a person should not use his sleeve to drink water through. If someone pull their sleeve down, use it for various reasons, they should use a sleeve in case they want to drink water through, because there is a question of schita. Squeezing out the rag on Shabbos is naturally awesome. Again, in Beder, there's a special halacha. If a fly falls into a plate of soup or into a glass of any liquid drink, the fly falls in. Of course, you recall the Gemara says there are three kinds of people. There's one who is very delicate, very sensitive. The fly falls into a large plate of soup or a pot, and he will throw out the entire thing because of the fly. He couldn't stomach the thought of drinking the food anymore because the fly came in. One will have to accompany, this will not go with his digestion. The second person is one who is that coarse that he doesn't even notice the fly. It doesn't even bother him. But he takes down, he imbibes the whole thing, fly it together with everything else. Third, the normal person, the Gemara says, is he who removes the fly and eats, drinks whatever is in that container. Now, that's good for the weekdays. Falls in on Shabbos, if you're going to remove the fly, that's removing pselis from eichel, which of course is awesome. So therefore, the eitzah for it is to take a spoon and remove together with the fly part of the food or liquid which the fly is. That when you're removing eichel from eichel, though there is some pselis in it, that is permissible. Especially, this is one din of bread. There's also another consideration involved. Fly is a live being. Anything alive, aside from humans, is muktzah on Shabbos. You're not allowed to touch, to move, anything which is living, whether it's an animal, a bird, or an insect. Therefore, this would be considered tiltul, moving muktzah on Shabbos. If you have a part of the soup, part of the food together with it, then it's not considered muktzah anymore, not considered tiltul anymore, because of reasons that it becomes bottled to the food in the spoon, which is worth more than the fly, apparently. Because the value of the liquid in there is worth more than the fly. It wouldn't give as much for the fly as it would for the soup or food. Therefore, the fly becomes bottled, and you're allowed to be retaliated. So, in order to avoid both bread and the muktzah, you have to be careful to remove part of the soup or food together with it. Same thing naturally holds true. It's not understood. a piece of dust falls into food. Any other alien item which is not part of the food, not part of the drink, you want to get rid of it, you must keep in mind the same rule. Remove it together with part of the food, and not by itself. Have the presence of mind to remember this, because otherwise it has an actual case of murder. To be Ramali, Tafkid, the Evdei Hashem, the Emes, the Chola Pratim, Nashtu, the Shabbos, with the fulfillment of all the Tayag mitzvahs, especially the mitzvah Shabbos Kodesh, to the Yerushalmi.